Okay guys, now let's learn how you print to the PowerSpec Ultra printer that we have, which is the one that has the pink tag. Make sure you are printing to the Ultra. This is what you're going to use this software for. So this software is fairly simple to use, but there's just this weird thing that you have to do before you use it. You need to go down to your little Wi-Fi symbol, which mine's not Wi-Fi because I'm wired here. But when I click on that, when you click on it, click on the little Wi-Fi, little bar symbol, you should see a Wi-Fi named Passive Humi PowerSpec. You need to connect to that. Now, before I connect to it, let me just point out that when you connect to it, you are off the internet. Like you won't be able to go on to Google Drive or anything like that. So don't connect to the printer until you're ready to actually send the file to the printer. Additionally, so you can connect later. You don't have to connect before you start. But then additionally, just as importantly, when you're done, you got to get back on the WestG Wi-Fi. Otherwise, you or the next person who uses a computer will be on this one, and this is just connected to the printer, not to the internet. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on Passive Humi PowerSpec now and click Connect. I would uncheck Connect Automatically. Don't have it connect automatically. There used to be a password on it, but I took it off, so it should just connect to it after a minute or two, however long it takes. I'm just going to go ahead and work here because I'm assuming it'll work just fine. All right, so for this one, you have your file downloaded somewhere on your laptop, and you're going to click on Load, and you're going to find the file. And so I just have some random ones here. I'll just pick this one on the desktop, okay, and put it here. This is giving me a message that it's not on the platform. Do I want to put it on the platform? Yes, you always do, but it shouldn't say that because your file should already be on the platform in Tinkercad, okay? So with this one, again, you can't really make any edits to the file. This is just for printing right here. So what you're going to do is a couple things here. This printer has a dual extruder, so it has a left and a right. So you need to figure out which extruder you want to use. Mostly your choice is going to be just based on the colors that are in there. So let's just assume for a minute that you want the left extruder. So what you need to do is click once on your model to select it. And then there's these little buttons over here. So I'm going to double click and then click on left extruder. So the darker purple means it's going to print to the left. The gray you can see means it's going to print to the right. These aren't the colors it's going to print in. These are just the colors the software uses to differentiate. If you need to resize your object, again, you have to have it selected. And if you click on scale, you can either change the actual values or the percentages. So if I wanted to make it half as big, I could just change one of the 100% to 50. And then as long as uniform scaling is selected, I can either hit enter or tab, and it's going to change and stay in proportion as long as I have that uniform scaling selected. You can also rotate it. Again, make sure that the object is selected. You can use these little plus and minuses here, or you can actually physically uh, move it and drag it with it, which I would not recommend that you do that. So I'm just going to edit, undo that. I would use these little areas over here. And then finally, if you actually need to move it on the work plane, make sure you're on move, and then you can actually move it. If you're on scale or rotate when you do that, it's either going to spin or shrink or get bigger. So you've got to be sure you're on the correct ones right here. And then the view button is just you can snap to a view if you want to. So once you have it the size you want, everything like that, what you need to do is go into the print menu. You're going to want to check print slice when done, and it's going to ask you to connect to the printer. So you need to type this in, and I think you're just going to need to do this just the one time. So the IP address, you got to make sure this says Wi-Fi. The IP address is 10, 18, 64, 2. And this number should be 8899. You just leave that there and then click connect. You'll know you're good when you see the status down here. This is telling you the temperatures of the extruders and the platforms right now. So under Slicer Engine, you're going to go to SkyForge. That's the middle one. Change both the left and right materials to PLA, even though you might not be using both extruders. For supports, disable means it's not going to print support. Enable means it will. You may want to talk to me about that, but some models just have to print with support, but your job is to try to minimize how much support you need. So I'm just going to leave it disabled for right now. Raft, we always want to use enable. We're then going to leave all these settings here. Standard and skirt are good. We're going to go to more options. Under infill, we're either going to set this somewhere between 5 and 20. If you're just looking at it, it's going to sit on a shelf. 5 is plenty. If you're going to use it and handle it, then 20 is about the max you want to go. Just keep in mind, more infill means more filament, which means more time and more chances for something to go wrong. So let's just say I want this one to be 10. Speed, we don't need to do anything under. Temperature, left extruder is 220. That should be fine. 215, 220 are usually pretty good. I have more success with 215 than 220. The platform temperature, this printer, actually the bed will heat up. So we want that to be 50 degrees Celsius. And then other than that, we should be good with all of the defaults. So we want to save this configuration right now. So next time you come in from the laptop that you're on, you won't have to do all this again, but you might just have to change 1 or 2 settings. So I'm going to click Save and say OK. And then if I hit OK right now, it's going to ask you to save what's called the G-code file. So I would just, this is different than the STL, I would just save this to the exact same place that you have your STL file. And then you can see here that it's processing it, and it's going to send it to the printer. One thing we have noticed with these files, don't put any spaces in your name of your file. Just have it all, if there is a space like Pasifumi Snowman, don't have the space between Pasifumi and Snowman. Also, 3D printers I have found don't like long file names, so I would shorten the file name if you can, although you probably will get a message if there's an issue right there. I'm going to abort out of this. It's sending the G-code now. Let's see if it gives me an error, just out of curiosity, since it's going so fast. Nope, it's good to go. But I'm going to go ahead and stop it, which you can do right here from the monitor. And yes, I want to abort the printing, and we're good to go. I want to show you one more thing about support with this. This is not a good model to use for support, though, so I'm going to pick a different one. And I just selected it and hit delete on my keyboard. But let me go to 3D prints, and I think this is a good one here. There we go. So the rocket ship right here. So this rocket ship needs a little bit of support underneath where the arms of it are. One thing you can do here is you can go to Edit Supports and click Auto Supports. And what this does is it generates these little support structures that usually are not quite as cumbersome to get rid of as the others would be if you just did support. So you would click back. It's going to ask me if I want to save. I'm going to say yes and just save it to the same spot. Now when I go to print, I want to make sure that I click Use Editable Supports, because now instead of using its own support, it'll use the editable ones that we have right there. Okay? All right, so you've got it. You're good to go. Good luck and happy printing.